We were talking about exponential growth and decay functions, and we want to be able to graph exponential functions. So here we have y equals 3 times 2 raised to the x plus 1, and that is going to be of the form y equals ab to the x minus h plus k. And the big thing is the k is the horizontal asymptote, or shifts the graph vertically. So in this case, 3 would be our a, b would be 2, h would be -1, so negative substituted in here makes it a positive. In k, in this case, we don't have one written down, so in that case, if there's not one written down, then we know that k is equal to 0. So because the k value is equal to 0, that tells us that our asymptote is y equals whatever the k is. So our asymptote is that is going to be y equals 0. So our asymptote is going to be drawn down here. And we know that our exponential function is not going to cross this line. It's going to get very close to it, but it's not going to cross it. The other thing that we want to look at is we want to look at our exponent, and we want to pick values that are going to be close to 0. So in this case, one that would be close to 0, how could we make this exponent become 0, would be if we plugged in -1. So if we substituted in -1 in for x, we take our equation, which is 3 times 2, and then x plus 1, and then we can figure out what that's going to be equal to. So we're going to substitute in a -1 into the exponent. So -1 plus 1, that becomes 3. -1 plus 1 becomes times 2 to the 0. And then 2 to the 0 we know is 1. So this just becomes 3. So we get the ordered pair -1, 3. So that's one point that we can pick. So -1, 3. Then we take a look at another one. Another value that we can pick is 0. And we can substitute that in. So we get 3 times 2 to the 0 plus 1. So I got to substitute in 0 in for the x. And when we substitute that in, we get 3, 2 to the 0, so that's times 2 to the 1. 2 to the 1 is 2, which is equal to 6. So we get the ordered pair of 0, 6. And that's that point right there. We're starting to see what our graph looks like. Let's pick one more point. And we're going to pick the point 1. So 3 times 2 raised to the 1 plus 1. And we're going to substitute that in for x. And so we get 3 times 2 squared. 2 squared is 4 times 3, which is going to be equal to 12. So we get the ordered pair 1, 12. So over 1 up 12, and the next one is going to be off. And then we can see how much it's growing by. So from here, so we go 1, 2, 3. So we go over 1 up 3, and then we go over 1 up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically this is getting doubled every time. So 3 to 6, the next one's going to be to 12. That's going to be off our graph. And it goes the other way as well. So it goes 6, then divide by 2 to 3, and then divide by 2 goes to 3.5. And then it goes to 3/4. So we got a pretty good graph that we can draw there. And then we just want to draw kind of a nice smooth graph through the points that we just created. And then there we have it. And again, our asymptote is down here where y is equal to 0. So that's going to be the line that our graph does not cross.